Good morning, everybody. I'd like to bring the meeting to order this morning. President Dean can't be with us this morning, so you've got me this morning. So nice to see everybody here. I hope getting through the checkpoint here was straightforward for everybody, and welcome to those who are joining us by Zoom today as well. Okay, Tim, do you have something for us? Okay, our Sergeant at Arms, Al, is feeling a bit under the weather this morning, so he won't be with us today. So Barrie, do you have something, please? Okay, has our speaker arrived yet? Oh, he's on the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Morning, Robert. Good to see you. Can you hear us? We can't hear Robert. He is on mute. Oh no, Michael's on mute. Where is Robert?
Hello? You guys hear me now? Awesome. Good morning, folks. My apologies for the late arrival. When things can go wrong, they do go wrong. And so I had to run into the office at 7:05, realizing, oh no. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my story.
Can you turn it to
Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
just a minute? Yeah. Okay, I just want to let, for the benefit of those, know that Robert is going to give us his vocational speech, giving us his life experience presentation.
Oh, go. Yeah, okay. So we're going to start way back when I was a little tyke in a country called Yugoslavia that was a communist country. We didn't come the traditional route to Canada. My dad, who was in the Navy, set up a deal with some Italian dude. My mom and I off a train, crossed the border through a forest, met some people on the other side, met up with my dad, and then lo and behold, we were in Canada. Coming from the coast of Croatia, I've never seen snow. We ended up coming here in winter. I remember being puzzled by seeing all kinds of white on the ground. It was freezing. We didn't understand what was happening. And so my journey begins there, basically because I had to acclimate to everything here that was completely brand new compared to where I was coming from. Going to school, not knowing the language. I still to this day don't understand how I learned English while I was going to school. So my journey goes through the typical childhood, caused trouble as a young boy and had fun. And once I was in university, my dad was in construction, and every summer I had to go put up drywall and do taping, and it only emphasized so much more how much I needed to go back to school. I hated it. once I finished school, because I was working to pay for school for myself at the same time, I was working at FedEx. They offered me a management position as soon as I got out of school. I've never worked a day in the life of my degree. I hated what I was taking in school, but was determined to finish it because halfway through is when I realized this was not for me. So took the management position from FedEx. Thought, great, never going to work a day in construction again. 10 years later, I'm being called to run to be the general manager of a construction company that my cousin was an owner of. It was a day job because at FedEx, I was working at nights, jumped on the opportunity. And then for the next 20 years, it's been construction, and it led me to Habitat. When we moved up to Barrie from Bradford, from Milton, from Toronto, I had to go back and forth to GTA, and Habitat had offered me a position of a part-time construction coordinator. And what they needed, I could do in my sleep. So I took the job, but it was really to pay for the gas going back to the GTA running my company. Then they offered me full-time and sat down with my wife at the time and said, so we're going to do this because I'm sick and tired of driving around and chasing money, and receivables are always a problem. And so we decided that I could take on this full-time, and I hadn't been an employee in, let's say, about a good 15 years. So working for somebody was really something out there for me. Took it on, best move I've ever made in my life. I've never had a day in construction prior to Habitat where I wasn't either stressed to go to work or stressed to leave work. It was all encompassing always. Habitat, on the other hand, I got to meet great people. It was a fun atmosphere. And we got to do something good for the community. So I've been with Habitat now for 6.5 years. The first 5 of which I was the construction director, and then they asked me to take on the role of CEO. I did let them know that I was not your typical CEO that comes with a master's of business and wears a polished suit all the time. I do dress appropriate when I need to, but I'm still at heart the construction guy, which I try to explain to all of our staff and everybody. Yes, we are a charity, but we are a builder, and we have to build, and we have to go according to what builders do, meaning cost breakdowns. That's the one thing that I didn't realize that they lived without before. So I brought a new perspective to our business, and now we're in the business. Now I'm in the business of going around. I do a lot of talks at schools. I do a lot of networking. I work with municipalities to try to see if we can secure land. Always looking to the next project. I was able to change the complete structure of how we fundraise and how we gain capital so that we can make an impact immediately. We used to fundraise to build, meaning it could take us 2-3 years to fundraise completely for a build. I was able to connect with Meridian, who are very community oriented, and they give us the loan up front. Our mortgage receivables covers the cost. This allows us to actually not turn away properties. It allows us to build multi-unit residentials. It allows us to make the impact that, that Habitat can make in a community. So I'm really proud of that because there's a huge need. Everybody hears affordable housing. Everybody hears about the nightmare. I live it day to day. I see the stories. I see the families crammed into basement apartments, paying almost $2,000 with no way of getting out. And one of the biggest obstacles for people to get into home ownership is a down payment. And Habitat says, you know what? Not only do you not need a down payment, we're going to give you 0 interest mortgage. But you have to be a good community member, and that's part of what comes with being a Habitat homeowner. So I know that there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that's why I do a lot of my speeches, is to go out there and let people know how terrific a program we have and what it does for a community. But it's a generational program. It helps far beyond today and tomorrow. It helps the kids and the kids' kids. So again, that's about it. I don't know if I need to get into any more details, but if you guys have questions, I'd love to take take them on. Debbie?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you give us some information on what you're currently working on for Habitat and the upcoming project in Innisfil as well? Could you give us some background information about that?
I can do. Debbie, I'll get right back to you. So we were blessed about 3 years ago to have started conversations with the town of Innisfil with regards to a plot of land that they had, and all municipalities have what they call surplus land. So I try to engage them into seeing if they donate that to Habitat. Innisfil was very keen on it. So the plot of land that we have right now is on 25th Side Road, up just near Lockhart, by Sandy Cove Acres there. Our project there has not been defined yet because we're still working on that with the city. Obviously, the city wants to maximize the density, and they look at something as a low rise as a possibility. Low rise tends to have high maintenance fees. That goes against the affordable living that we're trying to fight for. So I want to build like row townhouses there. It's also going to be the first, and for people that don't understand, a passive house community. Passive house is a certification that's at the near the top of energy efficiency. So there are passive houses within Habitat's organization, but they're individual. This will be a community. And what that translates into is energy bills anywhere from $70 to $80 a month all in. So that's your water, hydro, electricity, yeah. But that goes hand in hand with affordable living, because it's not just about paying your rent or paying your mortgage. You've got car payments. You want your kids to play soccer. You want to take a vacation with your family at some point. You need to have the ability to live a life that we should be able to provide here in this country. So with that said, this community, this passive house build is going to be the first of its kind in Canada. It's going to be something that Innisfil can be proud of. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be standalone, and I hope it's the beginning of future works. I know that we're in discussions right now of looking at locations for possibly moving into bringing a restore into Innisfil. So Innisfil is a I don't want to call it a target because that makes it sound weird, but for us, Innisfil is an important place to be able to build some more roots. One thing with Habitat, we cover from 7th line of Oro down to Bradford, over to Alliston, up to Borden, but we've been very Barrie centric, and the community is a lot larger than Barrie. And the fact that Innisfil stood up and said, hey, we want you guys here, and gave us that parcel of land, that allows us to build there. Because we didn't have to pay for the land, it gives us that opportunity to spend the money on the passive certification. So it goes hand in hand, and I'm very proud of what we're going to be doing there. And I know that you guys are all going to be excited when I call you guys onto the job site.
Thank you. Does anybody else have Barrie?
For families that are trying to get a new home, how do you apply a criteria to have them able to do this?
Okay. So we always send direct people to our website, so habitathuronia.com. There's a quick 5 question questionnaire on there for home ownership. If you go through that criteria, we get and you are eligible after those 5 questions, it directs your application to us, and then our family services manager would get in touch with them to go to the next step. Criteria is you have to have a minimum of 2 years constant employment locally. You can't have lots of debt, meaning your debt ratio can't be high. We don't look at it as bankruptcies or consumer proposals as being an obstacle. We just look for the reasoning behind it. Obviously, you have to be a Canadian citizen. And once you go through those questionnaires, we look at where you're at financially. We do have a criteria that we have to fall into based off of the size of your family for the county affordable living guidelines. So anywhere from 40 for a family of 3 for 40,000 per year income to 96,000. So anywhere in that range, people with that kind of an income can apply. It's very easy to apply. And like I said, habitathuronia.com is the first step to that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So my question, Robert, is with the store, what do you do with all the products that come into the store? I know you sell them, but what happens to the funds? And can you explain a bit about the store?
Yep. So we're blessed to be able to tell everybody that 100% of your donation, meaning your cash donation, goes to our builds. And why can we do that is because the Restore is our funding model to take care of our overhead. It takes care of the staff costs. It takes care of the taxes, the building, the rent, the lease, so forth. And then that big chunk that gets left over, that's automatically transferred yearly to our build account. Our build account is a guarded account that once the money's in there, it can be used for nothing else but our builds. So we are, and prior to COVID, we were 100% self-sufficient. We never had any government grants, government assistance. We always did all of our, because our restores are such an active part of what we do. They generate all the funds that we need to, and we are tight on staff. So we watch our margins completely, but everything that we end up at the end of the year extra after overhead goes to the build.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Barb.
Can you tell us about an actual build and when you're going to be knocking on our door to help in a build?
We're looking at, I'm looking at the fall of 2022 for Innisfil. But if I'm going to be more realistic, because of the way that our talks have gone silent during COVID, meaning the meetings and the progress of it, I'd be more realistic to say the spring of 2023 we will start on our project in Innisfil. And the great news is that for the first time in Habitat's history in Simcoe, we have a waiting list for our families. And I did want to mention about our mortgages, because that I did leave out, because that is the golden gem of what we do. So our mortgage model is that once you're vetted and you're approved to have a mortgage with us, it's a 0%, zero down payment, 0% interest. We get to amortize that mortgage over whatever time, because your mortgage is always geared to 25% of your income. So we'll never exceed 25%. We update, we have yearly update amendments to the mortgage amounts. We always believe that 75% is what gives everybody else in their income to have the availability to go on a vacation or put their kids through some kind of extracurricular programming and live without the thought of, are you going to eat or are you going to turn on the heat, one or the other. So our mortgage model is very flexible in that respect. And then upon what we call graduating to a traditional mortgage. So some of our families move out, and our data states it usually takes about 7.5, 8 years before a family either outgrows or is in a better situation. They get a traditional mortgage, they come back to us and sell back their home to us at what the appraised value is, and then what they get back in equity would be all of their mortgage payments and upgrades they may have done to the home in a lump sum figure, and that is their next deposit or down payment for their traditional home. And then we clean it up and put a new family in there.
There was a follow-up question from Barb there, Robert.
Sorry.
How do you see Rotary being involved?
I see Rotary being involved by the network capabilities of spreading the word of what Habitat does, because there's a lot of misinformation about who Habitat is. We're social housing. I remember the first, excuse me, the first town hall meeting we had about the property being donated to us, and one of the residents said, well, Habitat brings drugs, prostitution, and crime with it. And I asked her where she got that data, just to see if this is just hearsay or if there's something, because I have data that proves the other side of it, that we don't bring crime, that we actually gentrify that area, and that generationally the families are better off. So I would use Rotary in the aspect of spreading the word, simply as in a conversation with somebody, and then volunteer time. Anybody's available to volunteer. We have different avenues where whether you can volunteer at the restore, volunteer with regards to administrative paperwork, or volunteer on the job site. Now that's the golden gem, is the job site. People love being on the job site because it's not a day of work where you're going to be, oh my God, I got 8 hours and I got to finish this. It's a day of, we're going to go out, help out, build a house in this community, sign their name to a 2x4 and walk away and feel amazing because you've done something well, but you've saved the organization the cost of that labor. So for me, it's manyfold of what Rotary can help out. And in the past, Rotary has built decks and fences for us. So,
Robert, can you explain a bit how the people who are purchasing the homes, how much work they have to put into helping to build the home as well?
Yes, and that's actually a big omission because we used to call it 500 hours of sweat equity. That term we don't use anymore. We use volunteer hours. It's 2021. And their obligation is to have 500 hours. Now, what that means though is that because in a day like today where you're working a full-time job, you've got children with you, 500 hours may sound like a small number, but it's really hard to achieve on your own. So what we do is we actually have people who work on that project and donate their hours to help her or him to get the full amount. And friends and family can also come and help volunteer, and their hours will count towards that homeowner's 500 volunteer hours.
Any more questions for Robert? Okay, well, thank you, Robert, for your presentation this morning.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
We're all looking forward to getting the call to help volunteer when the site goes up in Innisfil. So thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. Okay, moving forward. Let's talk a little bit about the bottle drive. Doug, do you want to give an update on that?
I think probably Tim's in a better position to give an update, or Jeff, about how the weekend went.
I was only there myself for a couple hours due to family reasons, so I'll give it to Jeff.
Yeah, it went fine. We collected a full trailer full of empties and beer cans and bottles and liquor bottles, and we took them all back. So everything went well. We didn't have no glitches, nothing. It all went back to the beer store. And we made 720, Chris, 700. Yeah, 729 or something like that on Saturday. So it was good.
Good.
Thank you.
I guess the question is, do we do this next year?
Still got all the signs for next year. I think just personal observation, I think Stroud was the quietest location we had this year. Cookstown, Barb, how was Cookstown this year?
Cookstown was the first one. It was the first time we were in Cookstown because we didn't have a site there on the first two. People were really happy. I would say when the committee or the board reviews this project, we should think about doing it again next year. I really believe that part of problem with a startup for a fundraiser is the first year, nobody really knows what it is or what it's about. And now we can ask them to save after their New Year's celebration that in the spring or whenever the first one is. And if we pick some dates out, people will know and advertise thank you and so on. It was very nice. We had a lot of fellowship time in Cookstown. It was really nice to be at a location where you were comfortable and so not that the others weren't, but it was extremely comfortable there. And some people we knew, which was a great thing. And they were happy to come there, which I think is a big part of it. They feel like they're helping us help. So it's a good thing.
Thanks, Barb. Big shout out to Katie for helping out in Stroud, our potential new member here. And Gail, who I don't think is on the call today, she also came to help out at the church. Obviously, the church is a key location. Big shout out to Pastor Courtney, who many of you may have heard had an unfortunate accident last week, ended up in hospital for several days, but luckily is doing great now. Thank goodness. He did come out to see us as well, which was great, and add his support. So thank you for that one. Moving on to...
Sorry, one thing before we move on. If people could help out, I have noticed as I'm driving around, there's still a lot of our signs out there. There's actually one just over right here by the Tim Hortons. So, so yeah, if you see one, please pick it up. We shouldn't leave them out.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff.
One question about that.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility to get the beer store on board? Was I-
Yeah, the beer store. Yeah.
Because I know, they used to give it to other charities, but, whenever you put a sign up there, they give you donations and it's already there. There's people coming in all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know there's a drive going on, but they will know every time they take it back to the beer store.
Yeah, appreciate that, Rob. It will
Excellent.
be
Yeah, thank
part of our discussions for next year. So thank you. Anybody else have any comments on the bottle return?
I'd like to, oh, sorry.
Full disclosure, Warren is still getting calls to come pick them up, and he does. So when he gets to $100 worth of bottles, he'll send it to Rotary rather than in little bits and pieces. But just in case somebody hears, well, I gave them to Warren. He's actually collecting.
Thanks, Barb. Who else had a point?
With regards to the bottle drive, during the garage sale, I was able to pop in and I was speaking with Doug a little bit about this. Habitat has a program with the beer store, and it aligns with the question that the gentleman just asked beforehand. I do have some contacts, excuse me, some contacts with the regional manager of Simcoe County for the beer store. And what we do as Habitat, we actually do what the gentleman says. We have a day where they allow us to pitch a tent in front of their locations, and as people are coming in, we let them know, hey, would you like to give your returns for Habitat, so forth, and it's actually been highly successful. We probably average about $40,000 for the day. And so I'm going to be extending some of those contacts with Doug to see if Rotary can get in on that. During COVID, we weren't allowed to sit in front of their stores, so they just put a day for us, and we get the proceeds of that day. So they are generous in that term. They are all locally run by their own manager, meaning they have complete autonomy for that beer store. But the regional manager would be the one that sets up this program. So I'm going to engage him. They're still doing hours, so I can't really do it right now, but I'm thinking some point in October, I'm going to sit down, reach out to them, and then set up a meeting with Doug and myself and him and see what we can get for Rotary in that kind of a term. It's so much easier to get the bottles, but people don't have to look for you. You're there. So
Okay, thank you, Robert. That would be great. Thank you. Go ahead.
We can't hear a thing, eh, guys?
There we go. How's that? Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. Okay, so quite a few years ago, when we first started up our Rotary club, we actually had a tent up once a year around polio time in order for us to be able to fundraise. And we would still stuff these little stuffed animals and that, and some people would donate their cans and stuff like that. So we already have done something like that, which is a great way to see that we can reciprocate and do that again. So.
I think we need to stress next year it's alcoholic beer cans and bottles that we're looking for. Some people dropped off bags of pop bottles and things like that. So we do need to specify what that is. So thank you. Any other questions on that? Tim unfortunately just had to leave suddenly. We'll carry on. Beer for a year, Jeff.
Still going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a bit.
Beer for Year is still going. We still have probably about 250 tickets that I have in my possession. So we need to get more people out there. I have all the tables, the signs at my place. So what we're looking for now is volunteers to sit in front of Sobeys, No Frills, or whatever. Farmers Market, I think, is pretty well deleted because there's the same people going through there all the time. So we got to find new avenues, and you got more friends than you think of. So just keep selling more Beer for Year tickets. We're almost there. We're past the break-even point by a bit. So we're just looking to sell the rest of the tickets. All right, everybody get out there and sell. That's all I can say.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Doug, as some of you may know, Doug is going on a very interesting trip in a couple of weeks, and I've asked him just to give us a little update on how this all came to be and what's going to happen on his trip in a couple of weeks. Go ahead, Doug.
Hello, good morning. So as I talked about last week at the meeting, I'm actually heading to Egypt in the near future to do an excursion. And as most of you that have known me for a while know that in our family, one of the sort of mottos is get out and do things while you can. You know, my family and I have dove in Nassau with live sharks. We've jumped out of airplanes over the Grand Canyon and did some skydiving, and we've done different motorcycle trips. And one of the neat things about Rotary that many people probably have not explored is there's two different avenues that are sort of remote. But if you go onto the organized website, the international site, you'll see what's called RAGs, which is Rotary Action Groups, which you can get involved in. And they're things like doing water, sanitation, literacy projects around the world. They're absolutely fantastic. The other one is different friendship groups. And some of those groups are things like downhill skiing, scuba diving, outdoor, whatever. But one of them is a motorcycle group. And this motorcycle group, and I don't know how they've done this, but they've been able to sort of connect at a higher level worldwide. And one of the motorcycle groups is connected with a Rotary group in Alexandria Cosmopolitan in Egypt, which is just north of Cairo by, I don't know, a couple hours drive, I think. And one of the things that they've done to help promote tourism in the area, because as people know, Egypt's really getting beat up right now with a lot of misinformation about it not being a safe place to travel and lots of travel advisories. Now, granted, it does border on some very sketchy countries, and you probably don't want to be hanging out at the western side of the Western Desert next to Libya and things like that. But most of it is very safe. So what I've done is I've been staying connected with these guys over the last years. And for many years, they've run what's called a Cross Egypt Challenge, where they basically invite a bunch of motorcycle riders from around the world to come join them. And they literally do a 1,500-mile sort of run across the country. Well, what I'll try to do here is I'll try to share my screen. I've got a few different clips. And can people see that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So obviously this one is from our founder, and this is the foundation of which Rotary is built is friendship. On no less firm foundation could it have stood. And this is from our founder, Paul Harris. And this is where this whole friendship group sort of comes from. Here's the program itself. Last year, they did not run because of COVID restrictions, but this year, they're actually doing this. So part of this, like I said, was a 1,500-mile run. It's 10 days, starts in Alexandria, finishes in Cairo. And we are literally going to be riding some parts of it straight across the desert. And there will be camels, there will be pyramids. There is 42 riders this year, 40 motorcycles. The smallest ones are actually scooters, and the biggest ones are 1,000cc bikes, and then there's a bunch of 600cc bikes in the middle. Super well structured. I'm not quite sure how you would do 400 plus kilometers on a scooter, but apparently people are going to be doing it. I also took another, I think riding past a camel and a pyramid is probably going to be by far the craziest thing I think I'll ever see in my life, but I'm really looking forward to that. There's the kind of bike I'm going to be riding, basically, a adventure touring bike like I ride here. One of the nights we're actually camping in the desert. Other nights we are staying at hotels. And some mornings we're getting up as early as 4:30 in the morning to be able to have breakfast at 5, to be able to be kickstands up by 6, because we've got big days to ride. And these roads are not all nice, beautiful paved roads like we see here in Ontario. Several of them are just dirt track paths, a lot of sand. You need to be able to ride to be able to do this. When you actually put in your application, part of it is you need to put in your prerequisites and the kind of riding you've done, the miles and the experience you've got, because they obviously don't want to put an inexperienced person on a 1,000cc motorcycle that's never seen sand before, because it will be a catastrophe. So this looks like a pretty crazy adventure. It's even to the point where this is right off of their own Facebook feed for the Rotary Club of Alexandria Cosmopolitan. And this is one of the things that they help support and challenge. So like I said, this is the 10th anniversary. So they're really pulling out all the stops to make this a very big deal. And so for example, here's a lunch stop in front of the pyramids. So I think that that kind of thing's going to be pretty awesome.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
On here, I've got a little video. I'm not sure if I can play it. I can try. Can you hear that?
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear anything anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Right, thank
that's
you. Thank you, Doug. We're really looking forward to booking you in for a presentation when you get back, because that sounds like it would be an amazing trip. And it's actually a fantastic example of the friendship groups that exist with Rotary throughout the world, no matter what your interest is.
So one of the things that is going to happen apparently is we are going to be doing a Rotary meeting in the desert in Luxor in front of one of the pyramids on one of the days, because I think there's 14 riders are Rotarians. And then a lot of the other riders are either friends of Rotary or connected to Rotary in some way. So looking forward to it. It'll be a great adventure, and we'll stay connected.
Fantastic. Thanks, Doug, for that presentation. Janet, are you up for that? Okay, thank you. Just a quick comment. Brandy's not here today, but she's asked me to let everybody know that October 24th, which falls on a Sunday this year, is End Polio Now Day. And, you know, traditionally we do a walk down Innisfil Beach Road from No Frills to Sobe. So Brandy will be providing more details about that coming up. Yes, Barrie. Yeah, sorry, Brandy is, Barb will probably know better than I would, but I think she's doing okay. She's, as most of you know, Brandy broke her hand the weekend of the garage sale, and she is in a full plaster.
We call that
A cast, sorry. She's in a full cast.
I spoke with her last evening. She's really sad because she can't put Zoom on because there's rebuilding of the house is happening inside. And so she can't have Zoom on because it's too noisy of an environment. And she also can't come because of her getting her children to school and so on. But she's in good humor right now, and she's seeing the house, and from all the support from Rotarians and so on, that she's seeing the house change, and they're starting to move forward, and that I'm hopeful they'll have their house back the way it should be by 1st of December kind of time. They'll be back and they're in their home, but back and in their real home. But she would love an email. We still are trying to help out once a week with the dinner, that kind of thing. So anybody who's motivated that way, just let me know, and I can get you her address. You can drop it off, or you can send it to somebody else, or again, a gift card for a takeaway place.
Thanks, Barb. For those of you who don't know, Brandy and her family suffered a major flood in their house, which affected every single level of their home. And it's been quite a process getting the fix up going on. So as Barb said, if anybody can help out, we're a group of friends, please go ahead and do that. Okay, it is 8:18. We have time for a good news round. And for Robert, just so you know, Rob, if you have a good news story to share, we'd like to hear it this week. You don't have to put $1 in, you're a visitor. Do you have a good news story you would like to share with us this week?
Well, I don't. So I don't know what I was supposed to say now. I guess, I guess a good news story is I'm glad to be here. I like the work that you're doing, and I hope I can help out whatever way I can.
And you and your wife are now empty nesters, right?
We are both empty nesters. I thought this was supposed to be a good news story. So
They
my
come
daughter,
back. They come back.
yeah, daughters do. Yeah, daughters do. Sons do. So you just ask my mother. So, but yeah, she's just gone off to Queen's University. She's having a lovely time there. And we look forward to seeing her whenever she comes back.
Good morning. I guess it's good news, bad news. I have to close the pool because the weather's just not there anymore. The pool's still 85 degrees, but it's not very nice. So that's the only thing I got to say. Hopefully for next summer.
Yep, but I'll have to catch you on the dollar because obviously I'm out of practice for bringing our dollars to the meetings. But unfortunately, I don't gamble when I'm in uniform. So maybe other times, but not. Anyways, my good news is really kind of, again, like Jeff, bad news, good news. And I'm so thankful for amazing vets. Our dog 2 weeks ago took a slip at the cottage when she was running, and she's completely torn her cruciate ligament in her leg. Thankfully, the vets in Minden, where we were at the time, took good care of her, and they cut her in for an X-ray quickly, and they're gonna do surgery in about a week's time. So again, we went to our local vet up here when we got back, and the vet said, "Oh yeah, it'll be 2.5 weeks before we can do an X-ray, and then another month before we do the surgery." It's like, no, the dog's hopping around on 3 legs. So thankfully for good service providers out there. So thankful for our vets up in Minden.
Yeah, a bit of a theme here. I got good news, bad news as well. So my daughter last week, she was telling me how in gym class she was kind of frustrated. They were playing football and nobody would ever pass her the ball. Didn't matter how open she was, she never got a pass. So yesterday I picked her up from school and asked her how it went, and she said she had gym. So I said, "What were you doing today?" She said, "Well, we played football." I said, "Oh, great. Did anybody throw you the ball?" She said, "Yeah, they threw the ball to me." I said, "Wonderful." I said, did you get a touchdown?" She said, "No, I took the ball off the face." So with baby steps, we're getting closer. But again, when I pressed her, it was actually the side of the head. So she was being a bit of a drama queen. It really wasn't that big deal.
Just to follow up with Jeff and closing the pool, I'm not closing, or I didn't close mine because of the weather. Put the safety cover on because there was a blue heron last week that landed beside the pool or on the pool deck. It shouldn't keep fishing. No. So that's my.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning. I've got lots of good news actually. Today is McHappy Day. So any purchase at McDonald's, a portion is going to the Ronald McDonald House, but the locations in Barrie are also going to be coming to RVH. So excited about that. And I'm also picking up a new car today. So that's always a fun, nice thing too.
So close that would be. Oh, really? Yeah. Janet beat me to it. That was when I got a new car when I first joined Rotary. That's what happened. And we changed the rules after that. People were not that happy with that. My good news is my grandson, who is just 19, voted for the first time, and he was excited to do it. And that to me means so much that we've got a generation maybe coming behind who also can take civic responsibility sincerely. I'll have to get back to you. We're all out of routine. Mine is very similar to everyone else's. We have a pool. We also have the trailer. So both are closing very shortly. Sad news, that is. Good news is I will be more present in the area come the 1st of October until May. Then you won't see me again.
Continuing on the saga of good news, bad news. I went for a committee of adjustment severance last week, got it, but there's expensive conditions attached to it, so we're working on those.
Good news, bad news too. So we're doing the same thing with the pool. That's one of the things that we've got to worry about. But also what was kind of neat was my son and daughter-in-law, who are currently living with us, like I said, they do come home. The 2 kids, there's a 5-year-old, and he went to vote. He went with his parents over to the Sandy Cove voting station, and they took him up and showed him how all of this went. And he was so excited that he went behind and saw the X being done. He told us the whole thing. So we're already starting to get them, even at 5 years old, making sure that they're doing it. And my nephew, I think I mentioned last week, was in a head-on collision on a week ago Monday. He finally had his 2 operations, or his operation on his 2 legs and these casts, but it went well. So we're praying for him.
I don't have good news or bad news. I'm just happy to be here.
Okay, who do we have online? We have Robert, do you have some good news?
Well, I have good news, and I didn't think I had bad news, but the bad news is that I'm finding out that I'm one of the few that doesn't have a pool around here. So that's my next goal. Good news is that one of our Habitat families is going to be paying off their complete mortgage at the end of this month and graduating after 13 years of being a have-to-have partner. And they're going to be mortgage free. So I'm super excited for tearing up that mortgage contract.
Oh, good morning. Just happy to be here, and yeah, life's good.
Thanks, Doug. Dr. Doug, nice to see you this morning. You have some good news to share with us?
I just want to let you know that we are personally responsible for all the rain. Our roofers are supposed to start yesterday.
Oh. Thank you, Dr. Doug. Debbie, what do you have to share with us today?
Well, we don't have a baby yet. So any day now. Yesterday, she went to see her doctor and everything's progressing. Her actual due date is on Sunday, but the doctor said any day, and we'll make sure that we tell you. So that's our good news.
We were sure after talking to Paul at the weekend that it would have been over the weekend, but hanging in there. I can't see who else is on. Eleanor, do you have something to share with us this morning?
Yes.
Nice to see you.
The Innisfil Historical Society does a monthly newsletter, and this month, submitted by Ann Kell, it's featured, the Rotary Trail is featured in this month's newsletter.
Okay, that's terrific. Thanks, Eleanor. Will that be available online?
I got one online. And I was going to submit it to Rotary members, and I'll have to go online and find it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Eleanor. Okay, Michael.
Well, good morning, everyone. I will not be closing my pool for a couple more weeks. So the good news for all of you is it's still open if you'd like to come over. Saturday was impeccable weather, a fantastic day. Our daughter got married. It was just an amazing, amazing day. And then my good news or bad news for my wife, she celebrated her 31st wedding anniversary with me yesterday. Thank you.
Dwayne?
Hey, President Ann. Nothing too much to report today. I'm just happy to be here. And yeah, I'm ready to enjoy the rest of the day and the week, and I hope everyone else does too.
Thank you, Dwayne. We saw your LCBO video. That was fantastic. That was quite a project. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sorry. And Susie, I can't see who's at the meeting. So Susie, do you have something to share today?
Yeah, good morning. Excuse me, I'm at work this morning. So we have good news, bad news too. We have our bathtub arrived for our new bathroom. But they broke our vanity, so that's bad news. But I did my first portion of the leadership training on Saturday, and I was really excited because there were so many of us from our club represented there. It was really nice to see everybody. And on Saturday, the other news is that Sean and I will be celebrating our 39th wedding anniversary, and he's put up with me for that long, and he's still here. So thanks. Have a great week, everyone.
Congratulations, Susie. Thank you. Well, the good news from Rob and I is we're not going to close the lake. We don't have pools, but we'll leave the lake open for anybody who wants to swim in the lake. Jen. Oh, sorry, who's on? Oh, Whitney. Sorry, Whitney. I can't see who's online. So Whitney, do you have something to share with us today?
Sure, that's okay. I didn't have video on for a minute. McHappy Day was already shared. It's a little bit different this year though. 10% of everything on the menu is going back to charity. It's not just the Big Mac and the few items, it's everything. So go and get something to eat today and support a lot of great charities in our area. And then my other bit of good news was last week was Smile Cookie Week. Again, big week for us here at Stevenson. I'm hearing from the restaurant owners, it was a record-breaking year for our region. So can't wait to share how much was raised once I have those numbers.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I heard the Cookie Smile campaign was great for our library as well. So that's terrific. Okay, thanks for everyone for sharing this morning. Before we do the 50-50 draw, do you have something for Learning Corner, Janet?
Okay, every Rotarian an example to youth. In much of the official, as much as it's the official literature of Rotary International relating to service to young people, a special slogan will be found. Every Rotarian an example to youth. These words were adopted in 1949 by the Rotary International Board of Directors as an expression of commitment to children and youth in each community in which Rotary clubs exist. Serving young people has long been an important part of the Rotary program. Youth services projects take many forms around the world. Rotarians sponsor Boy Scouts and Girl Scout troops, athletic teams, handicapped children's centers, school safety patrols, summer camps, recreation areas, safe driving clinics, county fairs, childcare centers, and children's hospitals. Many clubs provide vocational counseling, establish youth employment programs, and promote use of the four-way test. Increasingly, drug and alcohol abuse prevention projects are being supported by Rotarians. In every instance, Rotarians have an opportunity to be a role model for the young men and women of their community. One learns to serve by observing others. As our youth grow to become adult leaders, it is hoped that each will receive the same desire and spirit to serve future generations of children and youth. The slogan accepted over 40 years ago is just as vital today. It is a very thoughtful challenge. Every Rotarian an example to youth.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, before we do the 50-50 draw, does anybody have anything they want to raise today or talk about? There is a board meeting next week, so if anybody has anything they'd like to have raised at the board meeting, please let President Dean know. And we will, those people who don't know, the money we collect today for the 50-50 and the good news all goes to our project for ending polio now. So Rob, could you please pick a winning ticket for us today? Thank you. Oh, thank you. 579385.
You're welcome.
Okay, so she gets a chance to win the money now. She has to draw the Jack of Spades, I believe, right? Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us online today, and have a great week, and talk to you all soon.